So now it's to start this session, and this session is about the engineering life in Line. So what kind of culture we have at Line as engineering culture, how it has developed. The panelists, we have the executive officer of Line, Kakeuchi-san, and also Minsu-san. So it's really nice to have you all. So first, let me introduce myself. First. So I am actually the head of the Line Developer Relations Office. So Developer Relations Office is doing the PR activity of the Line engineering activities as well as internal system and also the engineering organization support. So this Developer Day is supported by our office, Developer Relations. And also I am in charge of the engineering hiring for both newly grads and also mid-career. I joined Line maybe a little bit over 2 years ago. So Minsu, please, would you please introduce yourself? Yes, I'm Minsu. It's been 9 years since I joined Line, and currently I am in charge of the Line messaging platform development. Thank you. So Kakeuchi-san, please. Yes. I'm Kakeuchi. It's very nice to meet you. I actually joined LiveDoor in 2007, and then it's been 13 years since then. Well, I am in charge of the business platform development at Line. Business platform is for Line official account, Line login, so it's sort of a developer product. So that's my responsibility. Thank you. Thank you for both of you. So it's been 13 years. It's quite long. Yes. Kakeuchi-san was also a speaker at day 2, opening session of the last year Developers Day. I think you were appearing on stage with several hundreds of people. So I'm sure that you were not expecting to come back on stage in 2020. Yes, I was totally slacked. And maybe 2 weeks ago, I was called upon to be a speaker. So I was really surprised. 2 years in a row. Thank you very much for taking this assignment. Minsu-san, yes, it's been 9 years, and I think this is the first appearance on stage. Yes, I am so thrilled, and also I'm so nervous. Please take me easy. And I think, yes, next year we have Developer Day 2021, so I hope that you may be appearing once again. So with these two people, we'd like to get started. And yes, I think we already put the description on our site. We want to make this session as interactive, so if you have questions, please pop those questions. Well, both of the speakers were not really good at improvise, so maybe if we have questions, I'm sure that it will be more interactive. So I hope that you can post the questions. So first of all, what kind of engineering culture we have at Lines? That's something which I'd like to explain at the beginning. So as you see, these are the 3 core values of the Line Engineering Group. So let me explain each one. Take ownership, be open, and trust and respect. So take ownership. You have to be autonomous. You have to act as with autonomous. Well, in the development work, you have to take the responsibility. You have to really move on your own to be involved. Next one is be open. There are 2 sides. We have to have a communication with open-minded, and also we want to open the information proactively. Trust and respect, I think as you see it, so you have to have trust and respect to each other in communication. Well, I think these values were already existing even 2 years ago when I joined Line. So this is sort of a hearsay, but I think we had already a Line culture. And if we were trying to kind of come up with those values, these are the 3 core values coming from the culture. So both of you know even longer Line. So maybe you can talk about how it has developed and how it has been formed. So those will be the questions from my side. So maybe when we think about these 3 values, how is this kind of exposed to our culture? How is this expressed or represented in our culture, Kakeuchi-san? Well, maybe the one which I care the most is the trust and respect. So now, yes, I think you also do the teleworking, and also we have the teleworking in line. But originally in line, we already have multiple development teams across the different regions. So we had to telework, or we have to collaborate from remote locations. In order to really have the good collaboration across the border, we have to always have the respect and trust. So that's really important. Thank you. So, Mizu-san, where do you feel this value? How do you feel these values? Well, yes, I think it's not just a symbolic terminology to express these words, but I think this is really reflected into our engineering work. Especially regarding the be open. Well, yes, we try to open the information proactively. When it comes to the internal development, we have the open source type of development thinking. On top of that, if I think engineering work is done on this thinking or philosophy. So wiki documents, or maybe the tickets, or maybe the GitHub repository, these project informations are already open. You are reflecting those information into your own task and then make the progress. And that means maybe not just the person who is in charge, but people in other regions or other projects can bring their pull request, or maybe their suggestions or comments. So you have to be open to accept and receive those comments or feedback. By having those mutually, that will make the product or project even better. And that is throughout our engineering team. Yes, when I joined the company, I was really surprised to see GitHub. So take ownership. What about take ownership? Kakiuchi-san, maybe would you please make some comments? Well, yes, take ownership. I think, yes, Fujiwara-san mentioned it has to be autonomous. You have to take your own responsibility. But line engineers are not just doing the coding according to the plan, according to the specification. Engineers, whenever the service is developed, engineers were involved in the meeting from the start of this planning, and they were proactively participating to the service discussion. So when service is being developed, it's not something that they are just following the instructions by the planners, but that they are taking their own responsibilities.
Well, thank you very much for that. So two of you just have shared, well, the three keywords. Well, in terms of how this is embodied and reflected. And when you just have said, these are the culture that resides within Line. And the session title is Life in Line, Engineer Life in Line. So how this has been created is the question that I would like to ask these two members. So originally, before these value setters are being created, in-line organization, the three of the words that we just have described, those culture resided in line, right? Kakeuchi-san, is that correct? Yes. Yeah, the original culture was made more explicit, I would say. So I said when I describe about trust and respect, so as a peer and colleague, the engineer that you work with, you want to, of course, hire a top-notch engineer. And you have that confidence in yourself. So obviously, it's trustworthy engineer to work with. So these people, to be able to work together, you'll be able to naturally be able to lead to trust and respect. I see. So as I mentioned in my self-introduction, I'm in charge of hiring. So therefore, well, at the time of interview, we never compromise on a hire. So in hiring, you find a person you would like to work with, and you select them. And of course, it's very strict in terms of hiring criteria. But when you have decided to come on board, those people are people who can really respect. So therefore, this mentality of trust and respect is there. So that has been carried across from back in our history. So what about the other value, Min-san? Well, at the very outset, only a few handful of people are top-notch engineer. A very small team. In the team, one people would have to be responsible for multiple, of course, system. And on top of that, of course, the line when in a growth, of course, phase, there are a lot of failures, there are a lot of issues, and if there was a failure. Not only looking at your own system in charge, but if there's a failure, all gather together, and then we try to solve the problem. and we have that kind of mindset. So in order to have this kind of a scheme, one architecture, one system, what's happening, what's the new changes that are being made, and what are the logs and what are the monitoring information. When you can really find that root cause, unless those informations are open, although you want to help the others, you cannot help the others unless you know this information. So you proactively share this information and then try to work together. So that, I think, is one environment, creating an open environment at the same time, environment where we can all collaborate together. So that, I think, is where the open culture has emerged from. So I see. At the time of failure, for us to all help ourselves, you need to make it open from the very beginning. It's quite interesting. Well, hard to say, but I see. It's convincing. And also, well, trust and respect, and be open. We know the rationale or background of where we came from. But, of course, take ownership. What do you think it means, Sam? Take ownership. As Kakeuchi-san mentioned, it goes back to what Kakeuchi-san mentioned. Line engineer are very strongly involved in product development, especially major project. Very beginning, from brainstorming to mission and establishing KPI. How, with the overall project, how you prioritize in terms of those discussion, planning, designing, and development, and even QA. We all work together and make decision. By doing so, you really get involved in product development, a very strong ownership and commitment in part of the team. So that, I think, is a tendency. The other thing, if I can add, is that the service project, not only for the users, but as an engineer, the technical platform, the so-called platform project, that architecture, internal, of course, improvement, or maybe cost improvement. There are many things that needs to be done. An engineer ourselves will take the lead in starting the project and also involving the other service and project together. So technology, we try to make Line technologically very strong. So that, I think, leads back to having a strong set of ownership. I see. Line engineering team. It's a split by function. Engineers are engineer, planning are planners, and designers. And that is sort of the management organization line. But if you're creating something, it's cross-functional. So creating the project, and as Min-san, you said, from the planning to the very initial stage, each of the functions, we have teams that comprise of different background, and that is the reason why we have this take ownership and a culture that are nurtured naturally, I believe. I see. Okay. Yes. On the org chart, it's not a team by org chart, but we feel as though we are belonging to a project. That, I think, sensuality is stronger. So project, everyone would have discussion and creating product together, I think, is how Line culture is. And this culture, well, at the outset, the original, of course, Line is comprised from the various different diversity element, because Line, in 2012, 3 companies have joined together and merged to start off with. And then, therefore, depending on where your original company is, the cultures were all different. So in terms of the nationality or where they're from, or the people working are all different, and many people are mid-hire, so the background are all different as well. So in terms of project that we handle, it's very global. So there are a lot of different development hubs around the world, depending on the country, it's different in culture, and we respect each other, a mutual respect. And then it's a culture that has to be embraced, all of us together. So that is the background of our culture. I see. So it's an old nostalgic story going back. But at the time of merge, depending on where your company is from, maybe different development styles and philosophy and how you design are all different. Originally, I used to belong to a company called Live Door, and I was in charge of the service called Live Door Blog. But I think in Japan, it was a quite major service here in Japan, but it was only dedicated for Japan only in a way. So therefore, after the merge, creating Line, looking how they develop. From the outset, they are deeming for a product launch for the globe or around the world, and that was a big stimulus for me. So, of course, if I go deep inside of the story, it's going to be too long, so I need to omit going into the details. But the base, of course, design for creating Line, after 9 years, so many users are now, but still it's not broken. It's something that we really are astonished about. So in terms of technological exchange, many cultures have merged, And that really is a backbone of how line engineering culture has been able to be realized. So after 9 years, you said that it has not been broken. So recently, I think hearing this story from the very beginning, it was a surprise for me as well. And Line in 2011 when it was launched, and at the time of launch, of course, the number of users were limited at the starting point. But the very starting point, from that and onward, we all try to discern to be the platform. So whatever the number of user is, it's going to scale out. So that I think is the sort of a mindset of how these engineering work is going to be done. Like Kakeuchi-san said, it's quite surprising and overwhelming. And the keynote of the Developer Day 2 days ago, that is the first day, there was a story from Ibi-san that the strength of platform also had been talked about. The line engineer culture, when we talked about that, the organizational ambience is take ownership, be open, and also trust and respect. But I think the platform, in terms of the style of development to try to deem to be a platform, I think it's a different culture. So from here onwards, the second half, I would like to talk about the development style of trying to become a platform.
So maybe it was a coincidence, or maybe I selected these two people, but these two people are also in charge of the platform. So maybe I'd like to hear about the development style, which is trying to become a platform. So Min-san? Yes, thank you. Well, platform, especially the line messaging application and messaging platform development. Well, we always believe everything is going to lead to the platform. So that's our mission and that's our philosophy. So as a platform, there are several value keywords. There are three important keywords for a platform. One is reliability. Next one is flexibility. And the third is quality. So these are the three core values in our daily development work. So let me go a little bit deeper. The first one is reliability. So Line offers different services, including the messaging. And we offer this as lifeline to the users. So maybe we have quite a big impact to our partner businesses. So we have to think about our responsibility. Based upon that understanding, how we are going to make Line more reliable and available. And that will lead to the better lives of our users as well as the businesses, which can support the end users' lives. So we do really feel the responsibility in our daily development. Next one is flexibility. So Line, as was mentioned, is global service. So we have different requirements by the users, and also the business requirements are changing rapidly. So looking into the future, how we can implement those services realized online as quickly as possible. That's really the key. So maybe not just looking at the existing services or functions, but we have to think about the platform. How we are going to expand our services from the platform perspective. That's also a quite important value for engineering team. The third is quality. So of course, quality is no surprise to you, but especially API and data quality are the two main focus areas for us. So the features and data which are coming from the messaging application is not just for the purpose of the messenger application, but we have the Kakeuchi-san platform offering the API and data coming from those features to the business platform. And also we are offering the origin source toward the data platform. So I think API and also the data quality, which are coming from the Line platform, should be ensured in terms of the quality. And that will lead to our betterment of the development as well as the product quality. So yes, if you are thinking about the platform, you are having reliability, flexibility, and quality. Those are the three keywords, three core values. Well, maybe Kakeuchi-san, what about you? You are actually developing that platform for the business side. Well, yes, since it's a platform, even though it's for business, so we have to think about the reliability, flexibility, and quality. Those are quite important value for both of for us as well. And when we come to the business platform, what we have to care about is the developers who are using our platform. Well, there are many of those users or developers who are using our platform, but maybe in Thailand, Taiwan, and Indonesia, we have quite a lot of developers as well as development companies. So depending on the country, maybe the customs could be different, or maybe the demand from the market and users' demands or requirements are different depending on the market. So we have to consider all those differences in developing our platform for businesses. Well, we are talking about the development culture, but as a company, we always put users first, users at the core or center. So when we are developing and designing business platform, who are the users? Of course, the developers are the users, but maybe we can think end users as a users because they are at the end of the day using the services which are developed by the developers. So we have to really have a good balance between developers and users. We have to make both of them happy. And also, when we are developing the platform, we have to have the leeway. We have to have the when we are developing the platform, we have to expect what this is used for. But sometimes we have sort of unexpected services. So we may have a room so that maybe a totally unexpected services can happen on our platform. So user first or user oriented? Well, yes, not just the development culture, but as a company culture, I think we have the user-centric, user-first, how we are going to make the better product so that we can put the users happy, we can make the users happy. So users first is a part of line culture. Okay, we are running out of time. So I think we have been hearing from these two people. So in terms of the engineering culture, well, yes, trust and respect, be open and take ownership. So those are represented in our organization. And when it comes to the development style, platform is always the goal which we have to lead to. We always make sure that we are making the platform, and that is accompanied with the development or engineering culture. Well, this session is engineering culture in line or engineering life in line. But at the end of the day, it is sort of a spontaneous. So maybe the audience may be confused, how to create the line culture or line engineers culture. Well, yes, we have to determine, we have to come up with those values, and then maybe we are going to have this kind of organization. Maybe some of you were expected, we were talking about the methodology, sorry, but this is how we are, and this is how our culture has developed. Maybe onboarding when you join the company, we also offer the multiple trainings so that they can understand what kind of culture we have, and also we have the different opportunities to really get used to our culture. But we have a kind of a CTO session talking about the line culture. And also, when we talk about be open, maybe Git or document tools. So this is also open. And also, whenever we are starting the new project, when we are going to make the progress of the project, we have to make it open so that we can help each other.
So that has been carried across from generation to generation. So of course, that whether the change is going to be accepted, the insight welcome, and also embraced, and that I think has been carried over from generation to generation. Well, culture, to speak about culture, is something that you do not educate others. So the existing members, those members who joined in, working together, then we are going to show by how we work. and then that could be felt by the person who joined in. So that is how culture is being succeeded. So that I think is the answer to the title of the session, Engineer Life in Line. Time is running out, but there are several questions, so maybe one or two questions I would like to select. So be open, I think, was some of the word that has been mentioned. Be open is a wonderful, of course, way to nurture culture, but it's still difficult. So in order to accept that in the organization, if you have any good advice, please tell us. So Kakeuchi-san, what about you? Be open? Good advice. So I think have courage to be open. Yes, be open. Well, there are some security issues. There are some issues that you have to overcome. So the line, we're not making everything open. The user data, we need to protect them. And of course, there are confidential data that cannot be made open. So those, I think, is looking at the situation and is a good balance, striking a good balance. Yes, so let's say Slack, like Slack. So for those that have no problem, maybe an open channel, open communication could be utilized. And when we gradually started doing so, then that culture will be nurtured over the year. Could be the answer to this question. Line is a company for communication application. So internal communication, of course, utilizing Line, but we are quite active in communicating between ourselves, I believe. So maybe one more question. Those of the questions are quite difficult to answer. Oh, okay. So user-first culture, I think, is really important. So the actual planning and direction. So engineers' comment and feedback, is that being fed back into the actual final product? So the culture to exchange dialogue and opinion are there. Is the answer is going to be yes? Because in actuality, the product, when you start a project, you have the meeting and you have a lot of hot heated discussion. Is that how you start the program? Yes. When we start the project, at the very initial state, if you kick off, before kicking off, let's say this project, what kind of initiative need to be created for the project? We create not the design itself alone, but all the relevant department people all get together. So this is the initiative that we are going to create through the project. We have that discussion, and there's a place in the project to discuss that and present that. That's a kickoff. And by aligning those basic understanding, many people participate in the project for the development, or many people from the other department, they are clear in terms of the role that they need to play. So you talked about brainstorming. So that, I think, what you mean by that. So line, product itself. So we are the main users ourselves, right? Yes. So therefore, not making it difficult to use is going to be a problem on our part as well. So it's something that you take in as your own sort of a responsibility. So you have to really make sure that you share your own belief and opinion when you have discussion. So time is sort of running out. So, but I'm sorry. So we will not be able to accept any more further questions. Sorry for that. But at the end, we would like to give you some notification. So we talked about engineer life culture here in line, and next Saturday on the 12th. On the 5th, excuse me, we have a Tech at Line hiring event. So Line Engineering Culture, those of you who are interested, those who let us work together, let us be our colleague. So this is an online event. So please do tune in on this special event on December the 5th, Saturday. So few seconds, is there anything that you'd like to add, Kakeuchi-san? So yes, let's enjoy this culture together. We'll be waiting for new members. Is it Saturday? Yes, Saturday the 5th of December. So, Minsu-san, please conclude the session for us. Well, I am a line engineer, and I really love this culture. So let us work together on this culture. That would be wonderful. Okay, thank you very much then. Thank you. We'd like to conclude this session. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you.